Last night at 6, KPRC2 investigates exposed a Porsche partnership, and over the last 24 hours, the story has been one of our top stories on click2houston.com.
And what our Mario Diaz has exposed here was now federally convicted former City of Houston Director William Paul Thomas being part owner of a Porsche with local businessman Jason Yu. Yu was tied to millions of dollars in airport contracts within the Houston airport system.
Mario is live in the newsroom now with an update to this bombshell investigation. And Mario, your investigation is completely separate from what Thomas is awaiting sentencing on right now, correct?
That's right, Keith. Thomas was convicted of conspiracy tied to cash bribes. What we had exposed was the benefit of a convertible Porsche and payments that he was not fully on the hook for. This is completely different. Now, in case you missed it, here is the Porsche in question, a 2015 Porsche Boxster purchased in April 2018. Now, when you owed hundreds of thousands of fines to the city at that time, you and Thomas were both also listed on that title. You ended up paying hundreds of thousands less in fines, about 13% of what he actually owed. So now that we have publicly exposed all of this, the question is, what is the next step? I asked former federal prosecutor Santosh Aravind that same question.
An investigation like this drops, what should be the very next step, in your opinion, if law enforcement had no idea this even existed?
Well, I think that the first thing that needs to happen is that law enforcement and his lawyer needs to be advised of this, and they've got to take steps. You and I have discussed previously that given what we're seeing in terms of the docket for this particular defendant, he pled guilty a long time ago. He has not been sentenced for over a year. To me, that suggests that he could be potentially cooperating with law enforcement authorities in an ongoing investigation.
Does it necessarily mean that law enforcement knew about this Porsche partnership?
It does not. And that's certainly, as a former prosecutor, I would want to know that. I would want to grill we call them cooperating witnesses or cooperators. I would want to grill my cooperator as to what are the facts underlying this ownership in this situation, even though the car was sold.
And how often, in your experience as a former federal prosecutor, did you actually examine license plates to see who owned the vehicles?
Not terribly often, but if we were made aware that somebody had owned a Porsche and it was unexplained, and he was, this particular defendant was claiming to be, applying informal pauperism, which means he doesn't have sufficient funds to hire his own lawyer, and he's basically, being represented by the public defender. I mean, that raises all sorts of red flags.
The Houston office of the FBI tells me they do not confirm or deny or otherwise provide updates on specific investigations. We also reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office to see if they were aware. We have yet to hear back from them. We're going to stay on top of this. Now, let's check in with Frank.
All right, thanks, Mario. Well,